This is a new project I have, and this is just sort of a little mojo builder. I really haven't gotten a whole lot of time on the bench, and this is something I've just sort of been tinkering. I've had sitting on my shelf for goodness knows how long, but you can see what it is: the Cylon Raider from the Reboot Battlestar Galactica. It's got the nifty little colonial data sheet back in the back, all around the sides. Basically nice box art. I picked this up some time ago, and it's been sitting on my shelf for quite a while. I was never really fascinated with it, but this is just something kind of fun to do. You can see it, poor thing's covered with dust. This is just something different to do. Thinking with, I do have a 1/42 scale Raptor. I've got a couple Raptors. I've got a couple of the Vipers, etc. I don't have one in this scale of the Raider. So what I also have picked up in here, because I threw it in here, is the antenna controls lighting kit. So basically it is the scanner eye and two lights for the engines. I haven't tinkered with it yet, but it's from Antenna Controls. It's pretty inexpensive, and that's actually one of the reasons I held off on it. Was I wanted, if I was going to do it, I wanted to do this thing. It does have a on-off switch on the board, which means I need to put that on, actually make a hole in the bottom for that, or run the cables out, basically cut the cables here, run them out to a plug. We'll see how that's going to do. Void the warranty if I do that, but it is what it is. So I do need the 3-volt to be able to test that, and I don't have one offhand, so we'll get back to that. Looking inside the box, you can still get some of these around. They're not really all that common anymore, but it's a really simple kit, right? Got just a little bit of clear, and then you have the instruction sheet, which is pretty straightforward, right? So if you look at essentially putting the head together, and then these are the pods that go underneath, I believe. Then these are the engines, top to bottom, cover, and then these are the like detail pieces to the top. And that's really it. There is darn near nothing to it. And this is sort of a gunmetal color, so it'll be fun to kind of play around with that. What I do want to do is kind of make it clear, kind of do it up sort of nice. I thought about doing the one that Starbuck had killed and flown in, but then I realized wouldn't have little flashy red lights. What's the point? So that concept I had was done. The other concept the other thought I had is to do Scar. Now, if I recall correctly, Scar, and that's from one of the episodes where Starbuck pretty much loses her stuff, and Cat Katrine becomes one of the, I don't want to say, more of an antagonist. You see it's a lot of flash we've got in and around, but the kit itself is actually not bad. There's a slight, that's the word I'm looking for, surface detail, not detail, texture, that's the word. So a slight surface texture, which means putting together the, whatever sanding you've got to do, you're going to need to be careful about putting that back in. So we'll go ahead and open these up. Like I said, this kit's old. I mean, goodness, it's 2024 now. I think this kit was 2008? I don't know. I'm not going to look for long. Edit here, Mel. 2011. So, this kit's 2011. So, it's what? 13 years old? I've done worse. I've put together, 40-year-old kits. And this is sci-fi. I mean, come on. you don't look for super detailed stuff in sci-fi kits. It just doesn't happen. Goodness, there we go. Do have a couple suicide. My goodness, thank you. A little frustrating. So these parts came off already. I'll toss them to the side. These are those pod parts that I believe these are the sides of the wings. And then these are your engine thrusters. Yeah, it's pretty simple, but I mean the Cylon was pretty simple too. Putting this together, it's going to be more about putting the, putting the painting and the lighting are going to be the real work on this. We'll see what the fit's like. I haven't seen many. That one's coming off. Yeah. So okay. Now, if I recall correctly, Scar has this sort of squared off. Question: will I care? I don't know. I'm going to take a look at Scar, and of course that broke off. I'm going to take a look at Scar, look at a couple details for it, and maybe I'll just go that route and not worry about this, just because, some of the details here. So those sprue gates right there are going to be annoying, but it's a Mobius sci-fi. What do you expect? And the gun, there's one of the guns. There's another gun. Now, I've seen people who've lit the guns and did a nice job. I don't see me doing that. I might take a micro drill and drill the tip of that out, but. And then there's this. So this is the other thing I could do if you really wanted to, would be to open these doors and put the nuclear missiles. Because remember, you may not remember, but the raiders that delivered the nukes, like especially in the one attack on the Galactica, that's the door that would open up and missiles dropped out and came out. But I'd have to build that whole bay up. I may not want to go through all that effort. So, all right, that's what's in the box. Let's go ahead and get cracked. Wait. There are clear parts. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and get cracked into working on this once I go through this. So you have the stand. So you have the clear part for the window, which since I'm going to put the lights in there, I'm not going to bother coloring. I do have Tamiya red, clear red. And I have some Tamiya clear blue, which I may paint these in. I may paint these with the Tamiya clear blue just to give a little bit of color. I doubt I will use this stand because I want to run wires, but we'll see. So that's what I got. That's what we have. That's what the kit has in it. So we're going to go ahead and get cracked in. All right. The Tenna Control site is not up, or at least that link doesn't take me to the install video, so I can't find one. So basically I'm just going to show you what I did. The eyes are bent up just a little, so what I want to do is keep them sort of in a line here, right, like that. And what you'll see is when you do this step here, that then will create the ability for this to go here, those go here, and then this is the thing. This is designed to go right there. That'll slide right on there, and you'll see that the eyes go right where they're supposed to. So let me hook it up again. There. So now, and you can see that. So with that sitting right there, that can rest. And that's working just fine. Now I have decided, I was just looking at the episode for Scar. I think I'm going to give it a try. Just 'cause. because it'll be fun, right? It'll be something fun, different to do, to give this a little more detail and depth. You know, I could just do paint job and whatever, but this will give me a chance to do some damage to this, do a little bit of extra work, just make it look a little more interesting. So I think I will do that. What I do need to do though is I'm going to need to rework the front. So I'm going to start by just sanding that down and going back to work and seeing how that'll all go together. But I think what I'm going to do, like I said, apart from, I'm going to deviate from the normal assembly instructions so that I can put this in and put the lights in. So that has to go that way. So, all right, let's go ahead and get into this and then we'll move on. So, yeah. All right, so I've got that glued in place and then this card is there. Now I've gotten that where it is now pretty solid. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to heat it up to help melt it around a little bit. Fold it around, glue that down, and then we'll just do a little bit of putty work there. So let's do that and clean that up. All right, so after sanding and priming, it actually doesn't look terrible. Yes, I do we've got some, so now normally what I would want to do is I'd want to fill that again and then go back through, but this is scar, this is beat up. I'm actually going to leave those on purpose. I'm going to draw out from those from here, and then I've also got to start with the battle damage. So, you know, he's got this big scar across his eye, go down through here. All of this I'm going to scratch up a bit and mess up. There's also needs to be, if I recall correctly, well, if I don't recall correctly, I'm still going to do it anyway. Let me go ahead and zoom out a bit. So he's damaged on the wings. So there's a hole here, a hole here. This is dented. I think I'll put a gap here and maybe some on the underneath as well. Basically just a little bit of scarring, a little bit of damage and wounds on him, which will then be, you know, more weathering opportunity. So this will make this a little more interesting than just your run-of-the-mill, you know, Cylon Raider. But, you know, given, you know, this, here, take a look at the picture, right? This is better than, well, not better, but it's more representative of, you know, Scar versus, you know, a regular Cylon Raider. Other thing, again, this is a typical sci-fi model, so the fit is meh, right? So there's going to be gappage, so I need to go back, fill the gaps, etc. Do all that, like this right there. Yeah, it is what it is. So go back, fill the gaps. There's like 12 pieces on this thing, or maybe 20, but still. But the fit is just not great. Got to clean these up, and then we'll move forward. Just put a couple wounds on him. We've got that one there, which you saw me doing, and then this one here, which I did as a long scratch that will dig into his underneath. So what I've got to do now is back this with muscle. And what I will do is I'm going to go ahead and take some of the clear sheet. Not clear sheet, goodness, why do I say clear sheet? Do we have any? No, we don't. Take some of this styrene here. Little stuff. Just cut a piece big enough to lay under those and get some green stuff. Just lay that out and then put that on. So this is going to be my next step here. Let's see if I've got, yeah, so here's one. So is that big enough? That is big enough. So what I can do, clip this out a bit here. That goes there. That's it. Now green stuff, I'm not going to want a lot, right? So I don't want to bulk it up a lot. So that's what I needed to know. And actually what I think I'll do, thinking about it, so I should do that one with it in place. I think, yeah, what I'll do is I'll just go ahead and get some green stuff there. And what I can do here, sort of take my knife to add interest to the surface. Not a lot, just there. That should be enough. If I do that, then I can just sort of probably drop that bad boy right up in there. There. Yep. There. And that's really all I need to do on that. So now you can see, come on, zoom in, focus. Come on, focus. It's not that hard. There we go. There's just a little bit of something. And that's all it needs. At this scale, that's all it really needs for what I'm doing. All right. I just went through the effort of going through and getting everything, or getting the underwing installed and then installing the circuit board. I did snip off the switch, like I said, because I'm going to just run the power out to the base. However, something came to mind. Well, actually, I was talking to folks about, doing this. Again, I mentioned this, but I'm going to mention again. Terrible seams. So need to go back and clean these up a bit more. And then I'm going to hit this with a base coat. It's just, come on, primer coat. There we go. So I can just find the seams and do whatever work we need to do. And then I can start thinking about what I need to do for undershading. Now, with that said, the wounds and the screen I did with liquid mask, because it just makes it easier. And that way I don't have to worry about it. But something was pointed out to me, and that's the rear of Scar. So these are the engines for Scar, and somebody made an offhand comment. It's like, hey, did you know Scar had 3 engines? I was sworn he didn't, because I know I saw him flying in pursuit of Starbuck there at one scene, and he only had 2. So I went and looked, and I found this picture. Yeah, so apparently Scar has 3 engines, and I guess that middle one is the FTL, because they say that this bubble, there's at the tail end of this thing, all right? So there's this, and then there's this piece right here, right? There's this piece that goes on, and they call it, let me find it there, the FTL drive. So I'm guessing that that's what that is in the earlier versions of the Cylon Raider, that's the FTL drive. So the other thing I noticed is these are sort of oblong, and the engines on Scar are round. They're circular. So I went through all the effort to put this on, and then only to realize that I'm going to need to modify that. So the question I have for me is, do I care? And yeah, I think I do. So I will be seeing what I can do to build up that aspect of it while I go ahead and I still got to work on this, right? So what I can do here, I'm going to cover this part so that I can then hit this with a base coat and hit all this. Let's try this again. There we go. So I can hit all this with a base coat, and then I can do some of the shading I'd like to do, because I'm thinking if I do this, I can get some of the subtle shading in on this without actually having to paint it. So we'll go ahead and move on to getting some of that done, and then we'll see where we end up. I do like the front of this, though. I like the way that looks. All right, I finally have the assembly done and the modifications done that I need to do. The 3-engine bit was annoying, but I did it, and I'm okay with it. And then redoing the rear engines, again, annoying, but I was able to do it. The lighting is ready, so now what I do want to do is I want to put some clear diffuser in there between the light and the end of the exhaust. So that'll come later, but I'll do that like pretty much when I'm done. And again, there's the front, so that's kind of neat. Now what I have to deal with is coloring and shading. So it does have an overall gunmetal shade, or gunmetal paint, gunmetal color. There we go. And what I'm starting to do is use acrylic shading. Like this is one layer of Nuln Oil. This is 2 layers. This is a layer of Agrex Earthshade, just to put in different interest in color, just to the base color, right? And did the same underneath. We've got some highlights going on, and also did the lines, lined up that. Now, the exposed flesh, we'll go back and we'll paint in, and what I'm going to do is just put in the base colors, get the color of the flesh put in on these, and then we'll start really playing, I guess, playing with weathering and so forth, the scratches and so forth I have on the wing, and really scuffed up the underside on this one wing, and not really a whole lot there, but I'm kind of feeling like I might put a little more scratch along here just to add a little more interest there, maybe just a little more here. I don't want to overdo it, because maybe where I'm at I'm enough, right? So this I've got a nice dig there. That might just be enough, especially with Scar's face. Do want to put some shading in here, but now it's a matter of just going through and starting putting in shading, and then once I have the base colors and everything down, then it's going to be a matter of going through and putting the weathering, so scuff. And if I recall correctly, Scar had a lot of dirt and grime and so forth, but there's also we'll be having blood streaks and other sort of, especially coming out of that wound and that wound, blood and sort of the, not rust, but dried blood look, so that reddish brown. So that's where I'm going to go, and we'll go ahead and we'll get into doing some of that. All right, and with some weathering done to it and some the oils and so forth, I think I'm going to call the Cylon done. I need to come up with a better stand. I'm really not happy with the way the stand that comes with it works. I'm thinking about the angle that I want to display it at, and I think I want it at an angle where the eye shows, right? So that's kind of the important part. Overall, the look of the thing, the eye, when you go and plug it in, the eye is what really matters. So maybe sort of an angle like this, it's kind of mean. But also the rear lights. So there's really not a whole lot to it. but that's what the lighting is. So now let's actually take a look at the coloration, because it's going to be seen more like that than, you know, looking at the lights. So let me go ahead and reposition. All right. So I went ahead and did the modifications to get Scar's face and back a little more appropriate to what we saw. There's a lot of effort, but it's nice to, how do I say this? I am content with how that came out. If I was going to do a Cylon Raider, I want to do something unique. And I'm kind of happy I took the time to make Scar, to make it look nice. It's a little more effort than I wanted to. I mean, the model kit is like super cheap. You can put together, I mean, this kit is throw it together in an afternoon kind of thing, spray it with silver and you're done. Little bit of shading, coloration here. Scar actually gave me some opportunities to play. Put some wounds underneath. I did go with the bloody mass, especially that big gaping hole. And I wanted to give the impression of like that layer of flesh that Starbuck had to cut through when Starbuck crawled into the other Cylon that she dealt with. So yeah, and then the nice thing about this is because this is Scar, I got to play with shading and dirt and weathering, you know, so we did do some pigments, streaking, scarring and other things. So I mean, there's other things I could have done to make it even more accurate and true to Scar of the TV show, but I'm kind of content with what I got. So this was a nice diversion, nice little weekend play. So I was happy to do that. I'll be able to get into some other builds now. It's just, you know, this one here I can go ahead and set this off to the side, put it on my kit, and be good to go. So that's Scar. I'll take a couple of pictures here, but I'm actually kind of content with how she ended up looking. And yeah, I hope this video series wasn't so I hope this video was at least entertaining and worth watching a little bit. So, and again, anybody feel free, put suggestions and queries, you know, in the comments down below. Just keep them respectful and I'll be happy to answer. So with that, I will move on to the next project and say, yeah, thank you very much for watching and happy modeling, everybody.